Probably as awful then as they are now in that, so one of my first ones I remember, I was still on campus, so I hadn't graduated yet. And they brought in, recruiters to interview us and stuff like that. And one was a game company. And at the time, I loved games. And so I really wanted to work for a gaming company. And in the interview, they said, well, we usually like to hire women when we're working on family-oriented games. And right now we're focused on action-adventure. And I was just like, seriously? Because at the time, I loved playing the action-adventure games. So I felt like that was kind of one of the first times when I felt the bias sort of in the industry. In addition, they would ask me these trivia questions. They asked me something about a certain power of 2, and I calculated it correctly, but they expected me to just have it memorized. And, because I didn't. So anyway, that was my first taste of, okay, this is going to be annoying. And then most interviews were kind of like that. I did get an early job offer because one of my professors had a connection to a startup up in San Francisco. And so I got an offer there, but the team I was going to work with was going to be, there was nobody like me. They were all, middle-aged men. And this wasn't one of the bro ones. It was more just kind of one of the old school, older men kind of companies. And it just didn't seem like it would be very exciting to me, very fulfilling. So I turned that down and just decided to work on a startup with some of my friends. So I actually, when I was first up there, for the first few months, I was trying to do a startup with some of my friends from school. But we didn't have any experience, so it didn't go well. So we all ended up getting jobs instead. And so my first job was actually at Sony up in San Francisco.
Wow. Okay. So what was that experience like? Sony's a huge company.
They are a huge company. Yeah. So I was excited because they lured me in, they gave me a free PlayStation when I joined and all this. I was like, oh, this is going to be really cool. But I was working on developer tools, which, is not uncommon when you're first getting into the industry.
Sure.
To work on something, kind of behind the scenes, to put in your, dues or whatever. But it was, the bigness of the company definitely affected me. I felt like I wasn't having as much of an impact as I wanted to. I felt like I could really just sit at my desk and do nothing all day and no one would really know. So there's so much bureaucracy. If you want to use a tool, you have to get so much approval and all of that. And it just felt like I was just this little cog in the machine, and it just wasn't very exciting. So I was only there 8 months or so, and then I ignored all advice where people were like, oh, make sure you stay at least a year, 2 years, whatever. It was just like, no, I can't do this anymore. So I listened to myself and decided, nope, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, and so that's a big jump going from working on a small startup with your friends to working at such an institution.
Yeah, it was big. And it, that was a big leap. And, but I learned a lot from it because, you have to try stuff right to see if you're going to like it or not. And so, it was comfortable, in that, I was getting a steady paycheck. And like I said, there wasn't much oversight. Of course, I got great performance reviews or whatever, but it felt empty, sort of. I just didn't feel like I was having a big impact on anything significant.
Sure.
Versus in the startup, it was anything that I would work on would have a big impact on the company because there were just so few of us.
Right.